Hey, good morning. It's Wednesday, February 12th. My name is Rob. I am a developer dad. I'm turning on my robot and it's looking around and stuff. And I'm building applications using .NET and C Sharp and Blazor and all kinds of other stuff. Now, what am I doing? I'm a silly goose. Project, there we go. And here's why I'm doing it. And yeah, so this week I've been focused on getting the NPC filtering capabilities in place. So I'm gonna rebuild the app real quick, and I'll bring it up on screen in a moment, and I'll do a screen share so that I don't forget after I dive into doing things, because I will. And while it's building, I'm just gonna have a little sip of coffee. There we go. And let's run the web app. Excuse me. And let's just bring that up in a browser window. And I'm not going to sign in as that user. I'm going to use my main account. So bear with me while I log in. There's that. Push the button. And here we go. And this is what it looks like on a desktop view. So let's go take a look at my the townsfolk that I've created so far. And there sure are a lot of them, or there sure is a lot of them. So maybe we could filter. Let's find anybody with ELA in their name. We've got quite a few. There's a lot of them named Alara, like a lot. I'm gonna have a talk with the language model about that. So let's just clear that, and we've got all of our people back. All right, so just being able to filter on name is kind of useful as long as you can remember the names of the NPCs in your game world. But more often than not, you're going to want a particular kind of NPC or a particular kind of or other details that you can specify. As like, oh gosh, I had a dwarf brewer that was really cool and I can't remember their name. Who were they? And so you'll be able to, by the time I'm done, figure out who these people were. So let's dive in. Just going to stop the project, and all of this stuff is being done through the use of a couple of components. So we'll come into the Blazor client project, my object form filter control. What it does is it takes a list of filter fields that are configured on whatever component is displaying the list of stuff. And if you look, you'll notice that none of the code here is specific to NPCs. And that's because later on I might have some generators or some other things that people will be able to create that are not NPC characters or aren't even necessarily characters at all. So we know that this lives on the NPC List page. And for that, NPC List is a task that's performed on Create NPC Razor. And this is kind of transformed into Manage NPC, but that's cool. Partials, NPC List, This is where it starts to get a little bit bigger. So we've got this flex row container. We can see the create button is defined here, a little button to show or hide the filter form. And then we've got our object filter form down here. So filter fields comes from a method called configure NPC filter form. So let's go to that. Boop. And there we go. And here we're just creating a new list of filter field objects. And we're defining a new filter field in there. Caption is name, property name is that, and the position is that. So I think what I want to do here is now townsperson is sort of our domain object that represents one of these commoner NPCs. And it's got all kinds of stuff on it. Like if we go to the definition here, we've got all of these things like ID, user ID, given name, family name, pronouns, species, full name, blah, 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 blah. Personality description, all of that stuff. I think given name, family name, pronouns, full name. I think I want to work on the object model for this a little bit. Eventually. I've got some rough ideas, but I don't really want to dig into those yet. Character background is background. Personality description, vocation. Okay, so we're going to focus here on vocation and species. Subspecies isn't used here. I don't know if I'll ever get into that. We'll see. Let me think. So species is chosen from a list. And out on the NPC list, we are dealing with filter fields that eventually return with NPC, or they're turned into properties on an NPC client filter. And then, of course, we've got a IEnumerable of NPC filter row models. So let me think. I think for the sake of this particular work item here, where I don't really want to fall down an architectural rabbit hole and start making serious changes to structures and so on, I think I just want to new filter field. Caption species, name of townsperson species, position 2, new filter field, caption vocation, profession, and there we go. Now these are going to come in as text type fields. by default. I'll show you. We rebuild. Yeah. There we go. And if we run the program, and we'll go back in a second. I'll just hit that. We're still logged in as my main owner account. Here we go. If I hit the filter button, now we see that we've got 3 fields here. Now these 2 aren't hooked up. They're not connected to the actual building of the filter object and sending off to the thing. And I'm not really down with having to type that and then healer. What kind of silliness is this? No, I don't want to autofill. What goofiness is going on here? That's silly. And then, of course, applying this, it doesn't do anything for us because these aren't hooked up, as I said. So let's clear those out. And I don't want to type that. I don't want to type those things. So let's take a look at the definition for FilterField. Because I know there's a couple other kinds of things that we could use for this. So we've got caption, property name. We already see those being defined. I'm just going to split this off to the right here because we're just referring to it. I'm going to hide that. And we'll hide this for now. So we've got caption and property name, the position on the list, the maximum length that we can type in, field kind. What is that? Well, I've got 3 choices for field kind right now. I've got text, dropdown, and radio. Default is text. But let's see about this dropdown list thing. So if I come over to NPC List, public filter field caption, that's the filter field, you silly goose. What if I add, whoop, come on, and say input kind, field kind dropdown. Save that. Of course, Blazor in VS Code, it's hot reload is flaky. Or rather, the way I've got things working in here is flaky. I screwed something up somewhere along the way, and I haven't fixed my launch JSON or tasks JSON files yet. It's just something that I haven't taken the time to look into. But if I rerun the app now, and do I still have that window open? I don't. So I'll just renav in. No big deal. So here we are. If I hit townsfolk, it's going to explode because I threw an argument exception. Pardon me. Allowed values must be provided for non-text fields. All right. Fair enough. Now, I don't love that it blew up at that point. I'd much rather it blew up way earlier in the process, but that's neither here nor there. So I need to pass a list of strings with the allowed values. And I think Instead of a list of strings, I think I'm going to pass any IEnumerable so that it doesn't have to be allowed values dot to list. There we go. I'll convert it to a list internally, but I don't want to constrain consumers of this filter field object to having to build a material concrete list of strings. So flipping it over to IEnumerable, that's fine. And before I output it, I think what I want to do private list of string allowed values, we're going to initialize that. And up here, instead of assigning it here, well, no, we can do that. Never mind. I can still use my property. But we're going to expand it because we're going to use a little bit of logic in this property. There's not going to be any logic in the private set here. It's just going to be allowed values equals value. If allowed values.count is greater than 0, and we'll set the max length down in here. And the max length of this, the max length for the field will be the length of the longest item in the allowed values list. And you know what? I'm just going to pad that out by 1. Yeah, pad it out by 1. And get, I'm going to return allowed values dot sort. It doesn't like that. Oh, sort is a void. Well, okay. Allowed values. We're going to return allowed values. And you know what? We're going to sort them down here when they're assigned. In fact, no, can't do that because it doesn't have, allowed values doesn't have a return, or sort doesn't have a return on it. So we'll just sort those here. There we go. All right, so we fixed that up because right now in the creator, none of those drop downs are sorted, and that's annoying as all get out. So in the configure NPC filter form, I need a source for those. Now, luckily, over in the NPC view attributes, I've got a method that goes to get that stuff. And let's just hide the run box. Update client model, no. On save button, click. Get save button visibility, on AI button, click. Get AI button visibility, set control buttons. Set option panel visibility. There is a method in here that gets the options. User options, that's selected. And selectable options is new dictionary of string. And where do I get that? View NPC attributes. Excuse me. Set options panel visibility is false. Uninitialized async. Set control button. Let's look here. Go to definition. Okay, that's just that. And selectable options is a parameter that's passed in from the owner. Option value role, selectable options, vocation. Yeah. Okay. So where's that guy coming from? He's probably coming from, if we look out here at the main page, view NPC attributes, selectable options equals this dot selectable NPC options. Oh, go to definition. And this is another, it's just a dictionary. And let's see where it's assigned from. Start over clicked on AI description requested. On save NPC. Show list. I feel like load selectable NPC options. Here we go. Now, I could just grab this code and drop it into the NPC list Razor, but that feels dumb. That feels like a silly thing to do. Because if I ever change that, I'm going to have to change it in multiple places. So, why don't I come over, instead of grabbing that, the go get it code, why don't I see what's happening in Create NPC Razor? And selectable options. Hey, Erkamus, what's up, buddy? It's been a while. Well, no, you popped in last week. All right, so selectable options equals this dot selectable NPC options. I am going to need to, on the NPC list, add a new property called selectable options. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this definition. Oh, you goose. Not the view NPC attributes Razor. I want the attributes Razor C#. Boop. Here we go. And here's selectable options. This code I'm going to copy. I'm going to bop over here. Hey man, sleeping in is wonderful. It's a fantastic thing. I can't do it anymore. Just because it doesn't treat my brain well. So here's NPC List Razor. We also need to pass in the selectable options. Now I'm going to come back out to the create npc.razor code and grab this, copy that, and because it's now a property on there, we can drop it into the NPC list. Next step, because in NPC list razor.cs we now have the selectable options. When we set up the filter form, and I'm just going to do a let's say on the species, I can go allowed values is selectable options And I got to see how it's used over here. 6 references. Let's find them. Selectable options. That's a virtual. I think that's also a virtual. Yeah. So that's that. Let's come up to create view NPC attributes dot razor.cs. No. Up here, form select, option value, selectable options, vocation, and then we've also got background and species. It's species. Species. And then while I'm in here, why don't I? I occasionally write JavaScript. I don't enjoy it very much. However, with Copilot, I'm less allergic to it now than I was a couple of years ago. I'll use JavaScript in this project when I absolutely have to. In fact, to get the options filter, the filter form working, I actually have to do some JavaScript interop, just so that the Blazor can kind of control the browser and vice versa. Like when I show the filter form, I want to bind the enter key to the submit button on the form, and then when I hide it again, I need to unbind that event handler, and then I need a little bit of JavaScript to get the values out of the dynamically created form on the filter. I'll show you that element in just a second because I am now ready to try testing this this filter UI again. So let's save, and we'll rebuild. But I'm also in my spare time trying to spend at least a couple hours each week teaching myself React and TypeScript. And I'm seeing a lot of things in the React UI, the React way of doing UI that I really, really appreciate from like a structural, architectural kind of thinking about how to build UI code point of view. The way React does things is really, really similar to how I like to structure backend services. Sort of, kind of. I really like how React kind of forces this single source of truth concept for state, which really nicely rhymes with the way I have resource access being the single source of truth for various state type things within the system itself. And if you want to share some details of some resource, you have to go to that specific place. And so you write your changes up to there. And then, of course, in a stateless web service or what have you, your other components, of course, have to query that state object to get what they want back. But I really appreciate the way React approaches data updates and how it treats the mechanics of manipulating the document object model and so on. And I've done two-way data binding back in the days of Windows presentation framework. And I know that Angular does a lot of stuff with two-way data binding. And I remember that I did not enjoy it. Here, we can just refresh this browser window here. Exception, I'll reference, blah, 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 blah. Configure NPC Filter Form. Object reference not set. All right, what's complaining? Something's complaining. Oh, I bet it's having trouble finding the, excuse me, I bet it's having trouble finding the thing. Excuse me. Goodness gracious. NPC list. What's this? Must contain a non-null value when exiting constructor. Okay, so let's just go ahead and I have some code over in. It's been a while since I've used that code, so I'm falling down a bit of a memory gap here. View NPC attributes razor. I need to see sharp. Here it is, and let's just pop down here. So there's that. Selectable options equals selectable options, or it's a new dictionary of string. Okay, let's pop over here. Just stop the execution. And I'm going to come up to here and say, I'm just going to grab that code and copy it. Copy. And paste. Save. Now, I have a feeling that over on the page model here, create NPC page model, show list clicked, there is a load somewhere in here. And that's in the uninitialized. Okay. And this should execute on parameters set. Okay. I don't know if I need an on parameters set over here. I can get rid of this. Actually, I'm going to change this to log trace. Change it to log debug. That doesn't need to be showing up everywhere. Save, rebuild. There's that. And we're good. And I hit F5. Let's try reloading. Okay, we're good here. Go. And let's make sure selectable options dot, is there a count? There's 0. Okay. And now key not found. Yeah, that's fine. Given key species was not present in the dictionary. Yeah, you're silly. So stop. Down here, where is configure NPC filter form? Here it is. I want to go to this code. And string array, species list, string array profession list, if selectable options dot count is greater than 0, close that down, get myself some more vertical or horizontal space here. And if selectable options try get value out species list, selectable options dot try get value profession, save. And I'm going to change that to value. Back. Oh, bite me. Out. String array, nullable string array. There we go. And species list is that. I gotta spell it right. And profession list is that. All right. Now, instead of directly referencing the selectable options object down here, we'll just do species list. Equals array string dot empty. Oh, duh. I did it backwards. Array empty of type string. An empty array of strings. There we go. And now I can add profession list down here. Now, still no guarantee that these will be populated because we're dealing with some component lifecycle silliness. Rebuild. No. And let's run. And I think I've still got a browser window open. I sure do. And we just got to refresh. And let's see what happens. So here's selectable NPC options. We're loading. Why are I setting these values to null? That feels like a really silly thing to do. Oh, selected. Never mind. That's fine. Hey, what's up, Johnny? Do me a favor and give Mischief a psh, 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 and a dose of wiggly scritchers on their head. All right, my profession list is empty, as is my species list. I'm not surprised because there is foolishness happening. Profession list is still empty. Profession list is still empty. Selectable options has things in it. Let's take a look at selectable options. Species. All right. I'm going to jump to the cursor up here. There's that. I want to step in here. Species list value has 8 items. Profession list value. Did I spell it right? Probably not. But let's see. And let's just run. This is really this is rendering a lot. That's wild. I have to take a look at why. But I should be able to. Let's just dismiss all of those. Those are just little reminders I set for myself. Hey, look at that. And we're sorted. Dwarf. Now, we're still not applying these selections to the actual filter yet. And just to get a cheesy sneak peek, this is approximately what it'll look like in a mobile view. So not bad. It's clear. All right, not bad. And I know why profession isn't populating here, and it's probably because I'm using the wrong dictionary key. So let me see here. Background, vocation is the dictionary key. So let's drop this in here. Boop. There's that. I'll stop. Rebuild. Execute the code. Bounce back over to Safari. Oh, nope, I closed it. Ah, it's okay. I'll just open it in a new window. Here it comes. Here's that. And let's get rid of these breakpoints because I don't need them anymore. Boop. And bounce over to my browser. Shows a filter. And there we go. There's our list. I don't think I have any alchemists, but that's fine. Something I need to do is inject an empty string into those arrays, because we don't always necessarily want to definitely search for a specific species or profession. So we've got that going. We've got this. I don't need you anymore. So On filter form submit, not quite ready for that yet. I still need, oh, it's, yeah, no, it's down here in the NPC list. Configure NPC filter form. I need to ask Copilot a question. In .NET 8, is there a spread operator for combining arrays? Or was that introduced in .NET 9? Okay, so all right. That means I could, down here, species list equals excuse me, show me that syntax again. String dot empty So I don't quite have the syntax quite right, but that's okay. Because the way I actually want to do that is this. Use the null forgiving operator. Okay, is there a different syntax to add a single value to an existing array using the spread operator? I've never used this before. This is a new feature, and I've used it a little bit in JavaScript, but I've never used it in C# because it is a fairly new thing. Also use it with collection initializers. Docs say 2 dots. Yeah, it might be. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Urkamus. I greatly appreciate that. So let's make the same adjustment over here. String dot empty dot dot. And I got a feeling that my buddy Claude over in the Copilot panel over here is getting the syntax mixed up with the established syntax from JavaScript, because I know it's 3 dots over there, and it's still a relatively new thing in C#. Like it's only a couple of years old in C#. So it's probably getting its language wires crossed. So with this, for those of you watching after the fact that aren't watching live, This is a new thing that we have in C# that allows us to easily combine arrays into a single thing. And it's called the spread operator. And essentially what I'm doing here is I'm appending an empty string, or I'm creating a new array that has an empty string and whatever's in this species list value array. And then I'm doing the same thing down here, because these two arrays don't include a default type thing or an empty value. So let's see if that is sufficient. Because I believe an empty string will alphabetically sort to the top, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to find out anyway. And if it doesn't, I'll come up with a different solution. Because that is making software happen. It's have an idea, find a problem, come up with what might work as a solution, try it. If it works, woohoo. If it doesn't work, try something else. I like to call it FAFO development. It's 90% fooling around and 90% finding out. I don't have Copilot. I think what version of Copilot do I have? I'm paying $10 a month for it, and it's 100% worth it. Hey, look at this. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh yeah, we've got an awesome possum here. All right, we've got just a few minutes left in this. So let's stop the project. And in here, I actually have an event handler on FilterForm submit. All right. Filtered NPCs, blah, 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 blah. State has changed. Okay. Now this is some grim code, but this is ugly, but the refactor to make it less ugly is gonna be big. I have to do it eventually, but for now, hard coding this will do the trick. Big and ugly. So, if filter criteria dot try get value if string filter vocation, and I want to make sure the filter criteria that comes out of there is what I want it to be. It says vocation here. What am I setting it as down here? Setting the property name as vocation. Okay. Cool. It should work. And then finally, before I execute, this just includes the selected values in the filter object that I pass out through the service call chain. I need to zip into the NPC access v1 for this, and I got to do some more ugly code At this exact moment, Johnny, no, because I am at the 11 o'clock mark and I want to get this filter fully implemented before I call it a stream or let myself get distracted by anything else. But in a minute, I will absolutely, like, as soon as I've got this knocked out and tested, I will absolutely take a look at the repo. All right, so I'm gonna do a little bit of tidy up. Oh, stop. A little bit of tidy up of my parameters here. Yeah, that works. That works. I can look at it offline in between. So if the deleted date is null and that, yeah, that works. And also that. That's hideous and I hate it. But I know it'll probably work. Save. Probably. Theoretically. We'll see. Once again, we fool around and we find out. It's like those jokes about the scientific method, which is literally just a formalized version of fooling around and then finding out. And if I can get somebody to hire me to make software again, I will once again be able to fool around and find out for a living. I'm sorry. I derive a huge amount of amusement from the fact that that's most of science and product development and everything like that, like software development, hard research, science. It's literally getting paid to fool around and find out. And some people might not use the word fool. I don't use the word fool when I'm not broadcasting. All right, let's see. Where are my elves at? Okay, so it's just pulling anything with the word elf in the species, and I know why. And it's because the comparison operator up here, I'm using a contains. Species name equals. I don't need to use a flexible comparator. A flexible comparator here is not what I need. I do need to use contains or starts with on character name, but I don't need to use it on that. Now this, I really don't need those parentheses there. Sometimes I leave them, sometimes I get rid of them. Here they're not really serving any purpose besides just muddying up clarity. So let's save, stop, rebuild. We are rebuilt. We will run. Did I close the window? I sure did. I usually just leave it open, but this morning, oh, you know what? I'm not as caffeinated as I usually am. All right, desktop view. Townsfolk. Show me my filter. I just want to see the elves. If this worked, I won't see any more half elves. Apply. Will you look at that? Do I have any blacksmiths? Nope. How about a cobbler? Oh, oh yes. Fletchers? How about a half elf Fletcher? Yes. Clear? Oh, that's lovely. That is, yeah, I dig it. I dig it. I dig it a lot. That moment when it works, though, that dopamine hit, yo, dopamine's a hell of a drug. All right, we have had ourselves a very successful stream. And there's one last thing that I need to do here. That's right here in the name thingy. And this is a clear text field. And when we're dealing with clear text entry on a form field, we have to be very, 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 very careful to cleanse whatever input goes into that field before we process it. And we are going to deal with that when I come back this afternoon. Because I do have to draw a line on these stream sessions, otherwise they get too long and the resulting video is just, it's way too long and people fall asleep. So, but this afternoon when I come back, myself and my buddy Claude that lives in the sidebar over there are going to put in some validation and script injection. We're going to protect me from some script injection attacks and so on in this afternoon's stream. Because I know I need to do it, but it's been years since I've done serious web programming, and I don't remember all of the techniques that exist for securing freeform text field inputs. And it's something that has to be done on any kind of application that's exposed to the internet. It's unfortunate that it has to be done, but there are jerks in the world who delight in breaking stuff for the sake of breaking it, or breaking it to try and steal it, or breaking it to try and steal people's information. And I wish that wasn't the case, but we don't live in a world of make-believe, and there are bad people out there. So we have to protect myself, my software, and most importantly, my customers from those bad actors. And that's what we're going to start taking on in this afternoon's stream. And we're going to start doing that with the NPC name filter. So until then, thanks for hanging out. Urkamus, it's been great to see you again. I've really missed having you around regularly. And I know I've been irregular and you've been sleeping in, which is a delightful luxury that I personally, I can't do it anymore. My back and my hips start to hurt. But I used to really love just hanging around in bed all day, watching TV or reading or scrolling around on my phone or whatever. But it's not something I can do anymore. And Johnny, it's always a pleasure to have you hanging out, man. I will take a look at the Mischief repository offline. And for anybody who's tuning in after the fact, thanks for sticking around. I hope you've at least been nerdily entertained, if not gotten some information about how to do some Stuff that makes software happen. One less thing, boop. Oh, yes, that's clean. All right. Until this afternoon, be kind to yourselves and happy coding. See y'all later.